You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. To some of you new on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Temptation's Ballad. So y'all, before we jump into it, to let y'all know that our Patreon is now up. We've got bronze, silver, gold tiers, $5, $10, and $15 respectively, each with their own exclusive rewards and permanent access to our community Discord server. Join for as little as $5, y'all. It really helps out the channel. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright. In a flash, the arrowheads crystallize and bloom like jagged flowers. Every arrow from Hamish's volley erupted into a shower of glass shards and wires across the street. Ooh. Zealous swore loudly and took a dive, but it was too late. The piercing rain of blades dripped through her cloak and forced her down from her height advantage. Serrated wires attached to the shards began to dug deep into her sides as she struggled to untangle herself as she fell. Damn. Whack! Before the demon could even touch the ground, Hamish nailed her in the abdomen with a flying kick. The blow landed with such force that the deep sound of impact reverberated painfully through the street. Zealous let out a guttural hiss, her form shimmering slightly in a layer of black mist as she struggled to keep her current form intact. Hamish's eyes narrowed. Even in the split-second moment in midair, he growled with unsatisfied fury. Not yet. Not nearly enough. The lavender hue in his eyes suddenly sharpened like glowing embers. Jeez! Bang! Like sonic boom. It was as though a cannon had gone off. The air rippled as the sheer force of the kick sent the demon flying like a ragdoll across the street. The recoil was enough to rocket Hamish backwards at breakneck speeds. Hamish landed gracefully on his feet with his hands outstretched. His body was sent skidding across the cobblestone street from the force of the impact. He tightened his grip on his trap wires, pulling them back as he rode out the inertia of his fall. Sand and dirt scattered into the air as he flew backwards, his wires growing dangerously taut in his grip. On the other end of the street, Zealous's flying body halted immediately as hundreds of wires snapped shut around her. She hissed and tried to squirm, but the wires were too tight to budge. Not even an inch. The serrated edge of the wire dug deeper and deeper into her trapped form as Hamish pulled them ever tighter. Tighter and tighter and tighter. Zealous snarled and screamed, struggling fruitlessly against her restraints, but there was no escape. Black-red mist bled from her cuts like billowing clouds of blood. Hamish's eyes were steady with cold and clinical wrath as he continued to pull. Tighter, tighter. Oh! Yep, that'll do it. The demon let out one last blood-curdling scream as the serrated wires finally cut through. Her body scattered in all directions. Pieces of flesh and solid black mist fell to the cold cobblestone floor in sickening splatters. And then it was over. I'm a little worried that Hamish can kill an actual demon so easily. That's a little terrifying. The remains of the demon sat motionless on the ground, devoid of life. Hamish approached the scattered flesh slowly, as though expecting them to retaliate in some way. After several minutes of nothing, he finally lowered his bow with a sigh. Hamish quietly holstered his weapon and turned his gaze behind him. As the fight finally settled down, Cole cautiously poked his head out from his hiding spot. He quietly limped towards Hamish with an awkward look. Hey. Stop moving. You're worsening your wounds. Sit down and rest while I go get a medic. Even in his ragged state, Cole scoffed and resisted the urge to retort Hamish's bossy tone. He thought against it in the end. He barely had the voice to argue, after all. Cole cleared his throat again and attempted to swallow down the coppery bile obstructing his voice. Hey, Hamish? Thanks. The older hyena's face softened, as he averted his gaze sheepishly, feeling equally awkward in the moment. Of course, any time. The two of them suddenly gave a startled jump. Black mist erupted from Zealous's dismembered flesh and filled the area in a dense dark fog. What the... Hamish and Cole were enveloped in an impenetrable cloud of black. Cole coughed and waved his hand vigorously to fan the air, but to no avail. It was so dark that he could scarcely see his own hand. What is happening? Should the demon be dead? A shrill yet diminished voice rumbled through the mist. You are such simple creatures. Do I have to remind you the meaning of the word immortal? But color me impressed. I have not been decorporated by mortals in at least 2 or 3 centuries. Oh, my little mouse, perhaps you've chosen your host better than I had first thought. You've made this job rather fun. Cole felt the little snake rustle slightly in his pocket, but didn't have the strength to speak up. Hamish's stern voice suddenly cut through the stern mist. What do you want? We've killed you once already. Leave, or I'll do it again. Zealous's laugh shimmered through the dense fog. Oh, I like the grit in this one. Tell you what, let's play one more little game. Win, and I might gift you mortals a few days of peace. As a treat. A gust of swirling wind, the black mist faded away. Cole coughed and blinked against the sudden brightness. It's like, water time. Huh? Oh, this is bullshit! Oh! Standing before him are two identical Hamishes, both wearing the same look of confusion. The two glare suspiciously at each other before turning to look towards Cole. Interesting. I suppose this is the game that she was talking about. The other Hamish crossed his arms and gazed towards Cole patiently. Stay calm, Cole. I trust your judgment. That was a very Hamish thing to say, Cole supposed. He gritted his teeth and glared at the identical figures anxiously. His injuries were taking their toll. It was hard to focus on the burning pain from his raw wounds and rattled body. Cole trained his blurry vision on the two older hyenas. Both were very calm, with a tingle of stern energy as they waited for him. Tell me something that only the real Hamish would know. One time you tried to pick up Marrow's axe, but you couldn't even budge it. Then you kicked it and fractured one of your toes. You made the whole guild tell everyone that you got the injury from a very tough battle. You're definitely an asshole like the real Hamish. He turned towards the other hyena. What about you? You've neglected your guild chores for exactly 22 weeks. That includes cleaning the supply closets, many of which were your own messes, restocking the pantry, and wiping down the tavern counter. You're very good about keeping the library organized, though. Cole grumbled. That's some very accurate nagging. Cole scratched his chin thoughtfully before taking a step back. His eyes suddenly lit up as arcane energy flooded his sight. Both ghostly daze and detect magic filled his vision as he scanned over the two hyenas carefully. Cole scowled with frustration. Physically, they both appeared completely identical, down to the finest hair on their body. He also couldn't detect any infernal magic on either of them. There was a suspicious wisp of nature magic hovering over both of their legs, but they were identical all the same. Malice mentioned this earlier, didn't he? His sister was a perfect shapeshifter, copying both body and memories to the finest detail. Though not every detail. Cole's eyes widened as he turned his gaze towards the pockets lining the two Hamish's cloaks. He cautiously plucked a sharp stone off the floor and tossed it toward the first Hamish. Ah! The moment the stone made contact, that Hamish burst into a cloud of black mist with an amused cackle. The mist swirled into the air like a flock of angry bats hovering far above their heads. Not bad. Not bad at all. Mortals never cease to be entertaining. Well, a deal's a deal. I'll be seeing you around, little ones. With that, the cloud rose skyward in ribbons of black mist and disappeared. Cole and the apparently real Hamish both let out a sigh of relief. Well done, Cole. How did you figure it out? Cole let out a quiet grumble before staggering towards Hamish. He stuffed a hand deep into the older hyena's cloak and pulled out a small stack of parchment. Scrawled across each page in neat handwriting were Ilya's homemade recipes, along with a small note that read, "Come by for tea sometime." Cole glanced up to see Hamish scratched his head sheepishly. You know, your cooking's actually not half bad. I just like to complain. Hamish cracked a soft smile. Thanks. But I know when you're lying. Cole snorted indignantly. I'm just trying to be nice for once, jackass. Blood suddenly gurgles from his throat. Cole hastily patted down his belt for his cure wounds crystal, but his strength finally failed him. His vision blurred before quickly blacking out, his legs giving way below him. As he fell, the last thing he saw was Hamish's worried face as he rushed in to catch him. Second, Neil. Water time. Sleep weighed over Cole like a heavy blanket. His whole body felt like lead. Not an ounce of strength was left in him. He could sleep like this for a month and still feel like a wet rag. Let him rest just a little longer. Cole suddenly felt a sharp zap of energy course through his body, and he shot up, eyes wide. His fur stood on end, magic prickling through him like 1,000 tiny static needles. Ow! What the hell? His vision finally returned to reveal Artemy and Sid hovering over him with worried looks. Oh, excuse me. But boss, you're finally awake! Are you feeling okay? Ah, my head. Please sit, Cole. I haven't finished healing you yet. That was healing magic? I feel like you're trying to shock me to death with a bunch of little lightning bolts. Artemy tried her best to look annoyed through her cloud of worry. I'm afraid all my spells are aspected with lightning, even my healing. There's not much I can do about it. It may be a bit unpleasant, but you can't deny its efficiency. Cole glanced down. Sure enough. Oh, 1 second, something. Okay. Sure enough, the most minor injuries he had suffered had completely healed over. The puncture wounds in his shoulder and thigh were still painfully sore, but the flesh had scabbed over with what looked like weeks of recovery. Ow! What happened? How long was I out for? About an hour or so. Sir Hamish already gave his report on what happened. He explained how the cloaked mage had sent a demon to attack you and the other festival-goers. Artemy let out a growl of frustration. How utterly despicable! I should have been there to help defend you! Instead I was frivolously wasting time at the joust. Sid's large hands rested comfortably on both their shoulders. We're just glad you're okay, boss. How are you feeling? Cole groaned and rubbed his eyes. Alive? That's all I can ask for, really. He glanced around and finally noticed his surroundings. There were tents lining the streets as medics attended to the people recovering from the mass fainting episode. Church knights and the city watch were posted at every street corner. It looked like things were under control, at least. Cole struggled onto his feet and winced at the sudden stab of pain. You shouldn't be moving so soon! He ignored Artemy's protest and rubbed his eyes tiredly. Where did Hamish go? Well, after the knights and city watch secured the area, the arena, he ran off to investigate where the demon flew off to. Hey, where do you think you're going? I need to talk to Hamish. It's urgent! A small smile spread across Cole's face as his companions immediately stood up to follow him. It was almost heartwarming, if a bit nosy. It's a private talk. Why don't you two go investigate the scene of the battle for some clues? We're not leaving you alone, boss. What if that demon shows up again? I'll be fine. The demon won't be making any moves after the beating Hamish gave them. You guys are more clear-headed than I am right now. You'll be more useful in the investigation. The two began to protest, but Cole waved his hand dismissively. I'll be fine. Plus, what will people think if the Chosen One is babysitting me instead of helping the wounded? Artemy crossed her arms reluctantly. I suppose if you insist. However, if you are in need of aid, yell and I will come running. She gave a curt bow before marching towards the tent area. What? You're not gonna go all mother hen on me again, are you? Sid shook his head with a small smile. Nah. I just figured you'd want to know how the brawling tournament turned out. Clyde's got a bunch of sponsors just lining up to invest in his future blacksmithing plans. 1 second, y'all. Water time. Oh, 1 second, y'all. We're back. Okay. Your little scheme worked like a charm. Cole felt a flash of triumph that was quickly replaced by guilt. Oh, that's good. Did you know... Sid let out a small chuckle and nodded. Thanks for having faith in me, but next time you don't have to trick me into it. Sid kneeled down and placed a firm hand on Cole's shoulder. His grip felt warm and affirming against Cole's cold, ragged skin. You're not alone anymore. If there's anything you need, please, just ask. Cole's stomach lurched at this candid and undeserved display of trust. He suddenly felt a little sick. Yeah, thanks, man. I should really get going now, though. He hastily turned to leave, but stopped as a thought crossed his mind. Say, while you're out there investigating, could you do me a favor? During the fight, I vaguely remember, accidentally blowing up Clyde's shop. Again. Could you go check and make sure he's alright? If he needs help paying for the damages, use your tournament winnings to help him out, and I'll pay you back later. Gotcha. Are you sure you don't want me to come with me? I'm sure Clyde would be happy to talk with you again. Cole shook his head furiously. Before the fight, the demon disguised herself as Clyde and said some things. I don't think I'm really in the headspace for a heart-to-heart right now. Oh, alright. Are you sure you should be talking to Hamish, then? Heh, the guy's had to deal with me for 23 years. I'm sure he can handle whatever I have to say. Cole gave Sid a reassuring pat before making his way down the street on unsteady legs. Sid watched the little hyena leave with a concerned look. He was putting on a brave face, but something about Cole felt a little off. I really shouldn't leave him alone right now. Let's see, where should we investigate first? Inconspicuous boot. Among the rubble and trash scattered across the street was a peculiar dirty boot. Nobody paid it any mind as medics and knights rushed up and down the street to tend to the wounded. It was just a regular old boot after all. Why bother? After roughly a half hour of lying on the ground like a perfectly normal object, the boot suddenly shuddered, and then wiggled a little more. Abruptly, in a flash of arcane light, the boot exploded in a cloud of mist. The thick smoke lingered for a moment before dissipating to reveal an extremely confused Calder. What? Where am I? That witch! Is she gone? Calder furiously scanned his surroundings and breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, the terrifying visage of the floating bird was nowhere to be found. He was safe. For now. He had half the mind to press charges for the emotional torment that Shrike put him through. But he had the distinct feeling that not even the entirety of the city's night forces could hope to hinder that woman. Calder clutched his chest and let out a drained sigh. He should be happy to even be alive. But what in the world happened here? Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!